Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony, and today we're going right back into Lake of Voices. So without further ado, let's hop in. Interesting, but no true connection to events.
It's easy for you to say such things, but whose light are you offering? It's not mine, and you are putting her in even more danger with your own presence already.
Finally looks at Margaret. She avoids his gaze.
Perhaps I could have let him share my light before, but the guide has said the one with him has to remain behind, and I simply wouldn't be able to manage it.
Bamele's hands turn into fists. He looks away, but he doesn't say anything for a moment. No one does. I feel cold sweat on my brow as what I feared comes to pass. He's stopping us from protecting another. Why must he get involved now? Why can he not leave us to make our own decisions?
You... Don't worry about me. I'll be on my way now.
The man's voice is full of something I cannot place, and he starts to shuffle back down the way he came, arms still clenched around him. Margaret might not be able to take him, but there's another way this could be solved. I could stay back with him. I'll put Bamele and myself at significant more risks, but at least this man will stand a chance. Put a hand out to stop him. I will go. I shake my arm out and look like a rod blocking his progress past me. He stops.
I am not afraid to stay behind, as long as Bamele can remain up front with you in your light.
The guide does not say anything, doesn't even blink. Margaret covers her mouth with her hand, muffling some sort of gasp. Bamele smiles sadly at me.
One can always count on you, Kika.
Well, yeah, I'm supposed to be the savior. The man, meanwhile, stands with his mouth agape, truly a genuine shock.
Well, what will it be?
Margaret sputters for a second, searching for a word, but clearly unaware of what to say. Bamele chimes in before she can get anything.
I can stay in between you and the guide. I don't need to be right next to either of you. That way you won't have to worry about a repeat of what happened earlier.
I wouldn't refuse you being here.
The guide doesn't acknowledge them. He stares at the stranger. The man shakes under the attention.
No, really. I could just go on my own. It's fine.
I step close to him, lending the support he seems so desperately to need.
You do not need to go this alone. I will protect you.
The man stares at me. I return his gaze, willing him to see my certainty. There need be no blood spilled tonight. Slowly, the fear melts off his face, replaced with something like resignation. Then he drops his gaze to the floor.
Okay.
See, it wasn't that hard, was it?
All right.
I grasp his shoulder and then turn to the rest of the group.
You should get a head start, correct? You'll have to put some distance between us.
No, we don't have to do that.
Yes, we do.
Unnervingly, there is a hint of emotion in the guide's usually empty voice. Anger. He starts to walk, not waiting for a reply. Margaret grits her teeth, eyes filled with tears, face flush. She mumbles something in a small voice, something I'm just near enough to hear.
Why am I always so powerless?
Because you are weak. The statement catches me somewhat off guard. Margaret, powerless? She's not a mercenary, to be sure, but she seems so certain of herself. Then again, I don't know the reason she needs to cross this lake. Before I can decide whether I should respond, the tears fade from her eyes. Margaret takes a deep breath.
Please be careful.
Obviously. She takes a few steps back, lingering near enough for Bamele. Bamele smiles first at the stranger, then at me.
Take care back here, all right? We'll all be together again when we reach the halfway island. It won't be too much longer now. We'll have a nice little camp out, and you can properly introduce yourself to us. Maybe even tell a real joke or two.
The man emits a nervous little laugh and ducks his head. The prospect must not be enticing to him. With the stranger having pulled himself out of the conversation, Bamele looks serious at me.
I'm sorry to put you in even more.
Stop.
Bamele shakes his head, still smiling.
I don't begrudge you at all. In fact, I'm glad you did. All I want is for you to remember that goal. Each of us, together, on the island, and then on the other shore, safe. This isn't about what our job is, or where other people need us to be.
I nod in response, but Melee opens his mouth and closes it. He swallows hard.
You two.
I'm surprised to hear his voice wavering slightly. He swallows again, then continues.
You two should look out for each other.
He takes a few steps back as if to go, but his eyes don't leave mine. Margaret watches Bamele approach her, gaze flickering from him to me. Then suddenly, she rushes back my way. Margaret flings herself into me, wrapping me up into a hug, as crushing as her small shivering frame can muster.
Thank you for not leaving me behind either.
Of course. Then she pulls away, turning around without seeing my reaction. The scent of lavender hangs in the air, though I can't tell whether from her hair or her clothes.
Watch out for yourself, too. Not just for everyone else.
Of course.
I will.
The guy's figure disappears with only his lantern to lead the way. Mameli and Margaret are finally forced to leave us behind and catch up with him. I watch them disappear into the fog, an odd feeling in the pit of my stomach. I cannot recall the last time I had difficulty seeing someone leave.
You should go after them.
I start, almost forgot the man was there, standing right next to me. No, he looks at me with desperate eyes.
You don't need to do this.
What?
I'd rather know you returned to them safe, and that you all had a chance to make it back together. The way they acted, having to go on without you, no one would feel that way for me. I'm not worth it.
Sure you
That's
are.
not.
I stop, unable to say the last word. Can I claim that he's wrong? This is the one thing he seems sure of. I don't know him. Empty platitude may be worse than nothing at all. He smirks at my mumbling reply. I'm caught off guard by the change, with only that it seems he's in his element.
It's true.
He continues to grin, more so to himself than me.
You lot certainly made a scene, huh? That's nice. Being loved and all.
He clarifies after I must have given an undesired reaction to the statement. I am so disconnected with myself, I am unsure if surprise appeared on my face or if it was a lack of emotion that put him off.
I don't know exactly what kind of love it is you share, but there has to be a bond in that group of yours.
I mean, especially with the long-haired one. You wouldn't look at anyone like that.
He laughs and then speaks quietly.
It doesn't matter.
I can still try for the other shore. Go.
I will stay. My certainty shocked him. I can tell immediately. He has returned to his meeker self. The man starts to speak again, but I interrupt.
We should start walking. That should be enough of a head start for them.
He hesitates a moment, but ultimately begins walking by my side. I'm relieved. I can never be quite sure what will come of this one. We move in silence. The man doesn't seem to want to speak anymore, but he keeps glancing at me as if expecting something. Somehow, his odd behavior is comforting rather than disconcerting. Perhaps it's because he's more nervous about all this than I am. It's putting me at ease, making me feel more capable. I shouldn't allow myself to get comfortable, however. We are in more dangerous position than ever. The whispering from the lake, so faint after Bamele's close call, now surges forth. It grows nigh unbearable, the creatures teeming below the surface. I dare not speculate on what has them so excited.
Have you a name?
The man chuckles drearily.
Barely.
I don't really know what I am to take from that.
This time, his laugh is more of a bark, quickly out and swallowed back up. Then he frowns.
Lou. Only 2 letters. So barely.
I see. What are you doing out here without the guide?
Perhaps the question isn't appropriate to ask. After all, only the darkest of circumstances spur someone to cross Sinlos, but the situation is very strange. I might even go as far as to say it's suspicious. I know that's not fair, but I can't help it. Years spent anticipating danger have made me wary.
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know myself.
What does that mean? Is that some sort of joke too? Or do you genuinely not remember how you arrived where you are?
No, it wasn't a joke. Or, well, there is a point to it all.
Then his voice, already by nature light and airy, drops to a whisper.
But I don't know why I even tried. You'd think that I'd be able to call a spade already, right?
Then he looks up, noticing my gaze, still level at him. Then he shrugs.
I'd rather not talk about it.
As what has become the norm, I don't fully understand what he means, but can at least guess that he's not very happy with himself at present. And like it or not, he won't be sharing his real reason with me.
What about you? What brings you out on this little adventure?
People. On the other side. People who need my help.
You have someone waiting on you? Then why are you risking yourself on me instead of worrying about what's going to happen to them?
I feel my brows furrow from my speck of alarm. Is that really what he took from this? I surveyed his face with a flick of my eyes, but there is no mischievous gleam to his look. Now, he's serious. We hold eye contact for a minute until he again stares down at the ground.
Sorry. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. It just fell out somehow. I wasn't thinking.
I don't think you do a lot of thinking, Lou. You came out onto the bridges without the guide. You are important as well. His stare shoots back up at me, eyes wide.
Of course I'm going to be there for those counting on me. But you aren't nothing. I won't simply turn my back on you.
He smiles sadly, the kind of smile only someone who has experienced great hardship has. A smile I am all too familiar with.
I probably have to disagree. Still, that's nice of you to say.
We may not know each other well, but you wanted us to go on without you for our own safety. You even tried to have a sense of humor about it. That
Really? We might not know each other well, but you wanted us to go on without you for your own safety. You even tried to have a sense of humor about it. That has to count for something. My statement is far from grand, yet he has become distinctly bashful all of a sudden. Twitching his legs with each step, he hangs his head and mumbles his next phrase sadly. He seems unaccustomed to receiving praise.
That's true. Thank you for staying back with me. It's kind of nice.
No need to thank me.
Oh, right. I can't even show gratitude correctly. Of course.
I go to give him a look, but he's smiling. He looks less pitiful than usual. He almost seems content. While crossing Sinlos? How? Why?
It is not funny to make a joke out of thinking that way about yourself.
If you don't want people to say things like that, then you shouldn't reject their things. Either I did right by thanking you, or I did wrong.
Fine. You're welcome.
This time, he lets out a real laugh, though a short one.
I'm glad.
He stretches his arm out in front of him and elongates his stride so he's walking a bit ahead of me. It sits wrong with me. He's relaxed and completely unguarded. He's even fine with distancing himself from the light, and all the odd comments he has said so far. Then a thought strikes me. Maybe the reason he's so calm is that he doesn't care what happens to him. My heart plummets into my gut. For a time, there is a relative peace and silence between us. Then Lou gives a heavy sigh.
I never could have seen myself in a situation like this. It seems things really aren't over until they're over.
Did you think it was over?
He doesn't answer immediately. When he does, the reply is accompanied by him grasping himself, like he might fall apart if he lets go.
Yeah, I did.
That would have been the normal outcome for the situation. Alone, lightless, I shouldn't have asked. I must have let a frown slip through because Lou smiles a non-smile. He stretches his hand behind his neck and gives a little chuckle.
Something really is wrong with me. Somehow,
I feel lighter.
Alright, well maybe this is good. If he feels better than he was, then perhaps his view of himself will improve.
I wonder who'll still be left standing when this is truly all over.
What?
Everyone will be.
I say it firmly to end the discussion, but Lou's expression grows grave and unusually sympathetic.
You know that's not possible, don't you? Someone will go. You should focus on making sure it's someone else.
You don't seem to be concerned with self-preservation.
That came out a bit more hostile than I expected. He doesn't mind it.
True, but it's not the same for me.
How is it not the same for you, Lou? I still don't know how I'm supposed to interact with a person like him. Making conversation is already not a strength I pose. Regardless, Lou echoing that sentiment was not something I had expected. The whispers from the lake, which had already grown, now speak faster and clearer. The interval words are almost audible. I'd likely be able to make them out if I knew the Nyx language for a split second. I wish I did. The light in the distance still drifts along in the same manner as it did when we first met. Started walking, which I take to mean the path hasn't turned so far. Hopefully that means we're still on the right path. But the light, it got brighter. It's strong enough that I have to glance away for a second, and the next time I look, the light has grown. The bridge is on fire. I grab Lou's arm without thinking. He's standing there stiff, staring at the glow, eyes still.
We're going to run.
To hell with the guide's order. If we don't go now, we will never get anywhere again. Lou doesn't respond. He gives his arm a small tug, then he appears to come to himself, and he nods at me. I make the decision, then, that I won't let go of his arm. I do not know what will happen to him if I do. We take off. The heat grows with each step. The darkness of the bridge means the fire is spreading. Slowly, but it makes me question how it began in the first place. There's no end to how wrong this place is. It takes 20 paces before the air around us ripples and starts folding into itself. The smoke pours over us, stinging like scorpions at my eyes. I cover my mouth, my free arm kept breathings, and soon we're at the fire itself. The bridge lurches between us as if the beams supporting it are starting to give way to thousands of flying sparks. Lou stumbles and pulls against me for support, but we keep our ground and I start pulling him through the blaze. We don't have time to gather our bearings. Who knows how long we have until the bridge collapses or devours by flames. As we push through the smoke, Lou wheezes for breath beside me. Figures emerge, Bamele and Margaret. We look at the two and the situation around them baffled. None of the individual pieces make any sense until the reality hits me. All at once, the guide is gone. Margaret paused at the bridge, her lantern at her side, her glasses she's missing. Bamele is off to the other side, lanternless, with only the flickering embers in the wind to keep him out of the darkness. I want to pretend that they're both fine, that they're capable of handling themselves, but I know that's just wishful thinking. Both are in danger. I don't know how the Nixie feel about fire, daring they'd be with it so close, but I can't assume this is an opportunity they want to miss. I have to do something, and I have to do it now. Without wasting another second, I run to Margaret's side, Lou in tow. I'm the one who put her in danger, and she needs me. I have to be there for
Margaret!
her. Margaret's head shoots up, eyes squinting through the smoke. Tears like ribbons gleaming down her face. Whether they're because of the smoke or panic, I don't know. I'm nearly at her side when a shout goes up from the other end of the bridge. A chunk of the bridge near Bamele has vanished, collapsing into the water. In its place are Nixie trying to crawl their way up. Allie is backing away from them, but that's only pushing him close to the other edge. I check on Margaret again. She's on her feet heading over to me. But she's standing now. She has her lantern to keep those monsters at bay. I leave her running to get my light to Bamele. Bamele stopped in the perfect center of the bridge, unable now to move forward or back. Instead, he turns to me, face painted in a way I've never seen from him. All he can do is wait for me to come, and hope is soon enough. But as I approach, so does the Nixie. A Nyx larger than I knew they could be. It pulls itself halfway out of the water, reaching for Bamele. And it grabs him. It latches its arm around his torso, and it lets out an agonized scream. The Nixie's claws anchoring into his flesh, and the creature lets itself fall into the lake using its body weight, take Bimeli with it. I run faster, reaching my lantern out to him. Bimeli doesn't reach back. He just looks at me.
Don't!
He falls back into the lake. The Nixie's weight are too much for him to resist. After a moment, the water stills. There is no sign of him. I stop, panting, still my feet away from where Bimeli fell. Tears burn to my eyes.
No, he can't be gone.
Something tugs on my arm. I panic, but it's Margaret. I gape at her. I can barely keep myself together.
What happened to the guide? Is he also?
My voice cracks in spite of myself. I don't know what I want to hear the answer, but it has to be said.
No, I don't think so. I couldn't see through the smoke and without my glasses, but I didn't hear anything.
How did this happen?
While we were running through the fire, the bridge shook. It knocked my glasses off. I bent down to pick them up. There were footsteps. Someone kept going, and then Bimeli asked if I was all right.
The tears return to her as she wipes her nose on her sleeve.
He said he'd stay to keep watch while I couldn't see.
That sounds like Bimeli.
I'm so sorry.
She tentatively touches my arm, wanting to help me, but I don't know how. I don't say anything in response. I can't. The bridge trembles again, and I gather my wits just enough to get through this.
We need to leave. Which way did the guide go?
I don't know. She doesn't know either. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, remember to hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the videos I'm making. Remember to subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here to see what's next, and I won't take up any more of your time. Have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.